Doesn't want me to sing, does he?
Yeah, it might come to that.
Got no
It
chance.
might come to that. Hello and welcome to A Game of Two Halves. I'm your host for this edition, Nathaniel Baker, and I'll be talking you through the main sporting headlines of the week and a few stories of our own. This episode has a special emphasis on coaching, as we speak to three different coaches, including Barrytown manager Lee Kendall, who joins us in the studio. We also have a look behind the curtain as third-year student Louis Holbrook takes us through what goes into making an episode of A Game of Two Halves. Now, the Six Nations comes to an end as Ireland capped off their Grand Slam with a 29-16 win over England at the Aviva Stadium. Wales are probably grateful to see the back of the tournament, as in their final game they were comfortably beaten 41-28 by France in Paris. Despite starting brightly and taking an early lead through a George North try, France wound up being too much for Gatland's side in the end, as they put 5 tries past Wales by the time the final whistle came. Wales will seek to improve massively as the 2023 World Cup is fast approaching. Swansea got their first win since mid-February as they beat Bristol 2-0. Goals from Liam Cullum and Olivier Unsham ensured that they got all 3 much-needed points. They now sit 10 points above the relegation zone and can start the rest a little bit easier. Cardiff headed to Yorkshire this weekend to face fellow strugglers Rotherham. The Bluebirds went 1-0 up through an early goal from Jayden Philogene, but in the end it counted for very little. The game was abandoned just after half-time due to the pitch being waterlogged. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the effort of the Rotherham groundsmen to put in and rectify the problem. Some even claiming they were intentionally making matters worse by dragging water back onto the pitch. It is still unclear whether Cardiff will have to replay the game in full. Rob Page's Wales start their Euro qualifying campaign against Croatia. They will have to do so without key man Ben Davies, as he picked up an injury against Southampton in the first half for Spurs. That isn't the only story regarding Welsh fullbacks, as Chris Gunther has joined the Wales backroom staff ahead of the Euro 2024 qualifiers. We are now joined in the studio by Barrytown manager Lee Kendall, here to discuss his coaching career, Barry's successful season and following on from a club legend. So, Lee, in terms of sort of where you see your career going, what's your aim in coaching, your final aim sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's never ending really, isn't it? I think as a coach, you've got to be flexible and adapt. And I think from my perspective is living in the moment also. Currently enjoying my full-time job as head of football at Cardiff in the Vale College, which I get to be on the grass every day and work with players and help them develop. And also at Barrytown now as manager, and you know, taking it game by game and session by session in order to better yourself and grow. And you know, depending on your success and how you do is where you go in your career. And I'm just living in the moment at the moment, and really pleased with where I am personally from my coaching, and looking to grow every day.
Obviously in November Gavin Chesterfield left. What's it sort of like going on without a club legend like that?
Yeah, I think you know, you take over from someone who's been there 15 years is going to be a tough ask. And I think what the club asked me to do, well, I know what the club asked me to do was to make sure that there was a seamless transition. And you know, we've kept all the members of staff on board from Gav's tenure, and I just sort of stepped in and made sure it was seamless. And you know, at the moment things are going well. We're obviously on an unbeaten run in the league since I've took over, which is important to us, hopefully getting promotion with 4 games to go. Still in a position of strength, being 12 points clear. But as you know, in football things can change very quickly. So again, you know, going back to Gav, he's a good friend as well, and give me some good advice around the club, and is always on the end of the phone. So there to support. So hopefully just keep doing the things that we're doing at the moment and see where we go.
Obviously you said there you're on an unbeaten run, and obviously it's been an incredible start for you, but what are some of the main challenges that come with sort of coaching football and coaching men?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the level. I think Welsh Premier League and Cymru South and is all part-time football based on maybe one or two clubs that are full-time. So the challenges around people having full-time employment and having to work around that and support them in the evenings through training, etc., is difficult because of the way the world is financially at the moment. But just making sure that when the players turn up, that they're there for a purpose. It's enjoyable. Obviously, it's financially rewarding for them as well. So there's an element of seriousness about it. And when they do turn up, they're getting something out of it, and that's really important to me and my staff. Is that it's when they do turn up on a Tuesday and a Thursday to train, it's meaningful, and they're learning every session to become better players and better people.
How do you feel your experience as a player has affected you as a coach?
Yeah, I think when I started, obviously my sort of pathway into coaching was through goalkeeping coaching, and obviously as a player I was a goalkeeper myself, which gave me that opportunity to step into coaching, and I was very lucky to have played a half decent standard, and obviously played for Wales under 21s, and where I got to know Gary Speed very well, and I was very lucky that Gary gave me my first opportunity working at Sheffield United as goalkeeping coach, and set me on my way with my first full-time job in coaching, and as we said earlier, it evolves as you keep moving forward, and different roles throw themselves up, and different challenges, and as you grow as a coach, you want to better yourself, and I found myself now throughout my career being an assistant coach, now being a head coach, and wanting to lead, using those experiences that I've had in the past to be able to manage a group of players and lead a group of players and lead a club as well also now.
Obviously there is in the Cymru Premier space for European qualification. What do you feel like is a realistic target and for getting there, and do you think that it is possible for you to take your side there?
First and foremost, we've got to get promoted from the Cymru South, so that's the important part for us at the moment. You can never say never in football. As I said earlier, it's important for us to get promoted, but I've been very lucky as a player and a coach to be able to have played in Europe and coached in Europe. Every team that I played for in the Welsh Premier League, I qualified for Europe, which has given me experience of what it looks like to play in the Champions League qualifiers and the the UEFA Cup and Europa League, etc. So those experiences as a player, I'll be able to feed back to my players, and as a coach, obviously at Barry previously, we played Cliftonville in the Europa League, and we got a good result at home, and then got beat away. And I was only talking recently about how, if we were lucky enough to get promoted, is what our training program would look like to try and compete with teams on our level within those realms. But most importantly is getting promoted, as I said, and then going back into the league is finding a way to try and get into Europe. And obviously the league at the moment offers that opportunity of a playoff as well. So there's different routes into Europe, which Welsh football allows that. The Welsh Cup, winning the league, and obviously the playoffs in the league help. So there's different opportunities to get into Europe, and like I said, first and foremost is getting back into the Welsh Prem and then sustaining it, and let's see what happens from there.
Thank you so much for joining us, Lee. We appreciate it.
Cheers.
We are now moving on to different types of coaching, as we level with Street Football Wales coach Sian Cousins. She spoke to Lewis Sharp.
So Street Football Wales is an inclusion charity that looks to work with vulnerable adults across Wales and engage with them through football, but also support them as well as people rather than just players. I am the Women Only Development Officer. I started volunteering and then worked part-time throughout uni, and I'm now full-time in the role. So I work across the 3 sessions, which are in Treforest on a Monday, Cardiff on a Wednesday and Swansea on a Thursday. And I'm just here to run the session and make all women feel welcome and encourage them to get involved in sport, but also be here as a support network for them outside of sport as well, going through any difficulties they may have, be there as a support system and potentially push them on onto other charities and organisations which can support them further. We've got some players that come once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. We might only see them once a month, but them engaging with us definitely helps them grow as a player, with their football skills, but also as people through confidence, then building their support networks and gaining that support to better their lives outside of football as well. I think they're so important. I think definitely helping them build friendships on the pitch as players, but then a lot of the players have gone through similar things outside of football as well, so having that relatability with each other, allowing them to support each other outside of the sessions, but allowing them to then enjoy the sessions kind of as players as well.
It's inclusive, so I meet loads of different people doing it. My fitness has improved an awful lot, and I actually really like football. The way it's played, it's very similar to some of the other sports I've done, so I enjoy it, like the physical demands of it. I think the part I liked the most was when we went up, and a team of us went up to Dundee and we did a Nations Cup back in September. I was having a pretty not great day today, and actually really enjoyed the session. It got me out the house, I think a lot of us on the team have different issues in life and stuff, so quite often it's something to keep us going through the week.
I'm now joined in the studio by fellow third year Alex Wallace. Alex has done a lot of external work over the last year. So Alex, how do you feel your years at university has helped prepare you for this external work you are doing now?
I think there's a lot that's gone into it. Obviously, you learn a lot on the course. You learn very important skills and very important laws and stuff like that. So I think that the last few years has helped me understand what the world of work is actually like before going into it. So obviously doing loads of different things, whether it be working for a local club, working for a website that gets millions of views all over the world. It's something that the course has taught me in terms of valuable lessons, and it's helped me actually understand what I'm getting myself into.
Obviously, you're already doing a lot of work outside of uni with the transfer room representing Manchester United, and you have your own podcast, stuff like this. How do you feel in the future? Is that something you want to do full time, or is this sort of like a stepping stone in your career, do you feel?
I think perhaps podcasting, radio is something else that we've learned. I think that's something I would like to do full time. So yeah, I think everything that I've done is something that I want to take into the future.
Now, Cardiff City coach Jamie Phillips has had a season to be proud of. His team are in a title race and have given a great account of themselves in the Women's FA Cup. Sam Hancock went down to Ocean Park to speak to him about how he got into coaching, the effect on everyday life that the promotion chase has, and the difference between coaching men and women.
Perhaps I'll start at the beginning. How did you get into coaching?
A long time ago, coaching the youth teams. So I started off coaching with a development club in South Gloucester with the boys. Took them from under 10s at the time, all the way through basically. And then moved to Swansea and started coaching with Swansea, some stuff in the academy. And then kind of took a turn into recruitment with Birmingham before coming into the women's game.
How would you describe yourself as a coach?
I would describe myself as unique. For a start.
You coach both men and women. What would you say, if there are any differences, what the differences are?
I think the massive difference is the emotional side, the psychology behind why you do things, and obviously the physiological parts of the women parts and things are different. The ACL injuries are a massive study is going on at the moment on why more in the women's game than the men's. So there's loads of different kind of physical aspects that was different. Obviously, they've got an emotional cycle which is quite difficult to manage for some over others. So as a coach, it's a little bit more interesting because you've got to manage kind of an individual within a group setting, within that sort of period of it.
So you mentioned the psychological side there. How do you help out players when things aren't quite going their way, that with either from the games or look like getting to the side? How do you help their psyche?
Well, you just got to know the individual you're working with. So some of them, if they're going for a bad time, let's say take them off or just don't be here at this time. Go and sort yourself out. Others don't need that; they won't help them. Others needs a bit more of a push. One of our players brings to mind that she needs to be told, "No, you're here," and this is exactly what you do specifically. And so I think it just comes down to understanding who you're working with, and also then obviously they're in a group of people, so managing a group is completely different to an individual. So it's sometimes a challenge as a coach, but you've just got to understand who you're working with.
What is the most rewarding part of coaching?
Winning, I guess. Yeah, winning games, titles, getting into the big games, the games that we want to be involved in, developing, seeing players develop throughout the season, not just in sessions, but throughout the whole season. So yeah, just the main parts, the main things.
So we talk about the psychology of the players. What your sort of psychology? Obviously, you're quite in quite a high intense racial approach at the minute, and obviously every point's precious. But do you find it a struggle when you drop points? Does it like impact your day the next day when you work?
Things like that? Yeah, massively. No one likes losing, and not even just the results, but if things haven't gone to plan, if the game plans come kind of different or not as we expected, then there is a week really, because then also we're preparing for the next back. We're also trying to reflect and develop on the previous. So I think this is a good point why then all coaches and managers take a day off after games to kind of reflect and process that. But yeah, it's definitely has an impact on my week, that's for sure.
Now, we continue on with our coaching theme as we spoke to former GB gymnast Georgia Wink. She had to give up gymnastics competitively due to an injury, but has since been coaching kids for 5 years now. She now feels the need to try an additional challenge as she had taken on the challenge of coaching adults, which is definitely a lot harder than it sounds.
How long have you been involved in gymnastics for?
So pretty much my whole life, because my parents own a gymnastics club, and I did gymnastics since I was like 3, and then I did it until I was a teenager, then stopped and then went into coaching.
So it's fair to say that gymnastics is a big part of your life?
Oh yeah, massive. Every day I'm sort of in the gym, so yeah, it's quite a big part, I'd say.
So what's your role within the gym?
So I coach children aged 7 to 9. I coach them advanced. We do competitions, so I get them ready for their competitions. I settle everyone into the group, do their warm-ups, do their planning. And also because my mum owns the club, I help out if there's any issues within the club, the sort of admin side, or if anyone's struggling to get into classes, etc.
What's your favourite part of coaching? What do you feel is the most rewarding?
Oh, it's definitely when a child's been struggling to get a skill and then they do it. That's really, really nice. You can see their face, how happy they are. So yeah, I'd say that.
Why have you started introducing adults into the gym? Why have you started adult coaching as well?
So I think a lot of people do gymnastics when they're younger, and it's really good for your coordination, your balance, etc. But then a lot of people stop doing it when they get older, and it's really nice to see those people coming back into the sport, and just try their skills back with, their grown bodies. So yeah, it's very insightful, I'd say.
Obviously, you're more used to teaching younger people.
Yeah.
What would you say the differences are now with teaching the older generation?
Well, they listen. It's very different coaching a child to an adult. I'd say adults are more responsive to what you're saying, whereas, children, you've got to keep tending to focus and concentrate, whereas an adult is there because they want to be there, they want to learn, whereas children, that they love it, but their parents put them in the sport. So I think that's the main difference, that adults really, really want to learn within it.
So what does adult class entail?
So we start off by doing a warm-up, which is normally a game to involve all the adults and sort of get them talking to each other, because a lot of them come on their own. Then we do quite a big stretch, so like a 10-minute stretch, because a lot of the people want to come to improve their flexibility. So we do that. And then we normally have a skill focus that week. So for example, either we go on the bars, the beam, the floor, or the vault. For instance, last week we did the beam and we were focusing on handstands, cartwheels, rolls, and we set up lots of progression so it's okay for every ability. We then do free time, so they can go off on their own for 10 minutes, do whatever they want to do, which is obviously coach supervised and help is given when needed. And then we do conditioning, so lots of strength work, either on the floor or in a circuit, because you'll find that quite a lot of adults lack some strength. And obviously for gymnastics, you need your core strength, your arm strength to hold yourself up with handstands and just the general skills really. So without that strength and without that training, they won't be able to progress any further in their classes. And then we do a cool down, so obviously they're not aching the next day.
Well, the boys definitely give it their all there. I think we're quite lucky there were the foamy pads at the bottom, otherwise would have landed on their face a couple of times. How do you think they got on?
I think they were quite good. I think they showed that they're learning a lot of skills. They've done a good job. Must have been some good coaching involved, because I didn't think I'd see the boys do some skills like that.
We're nearly out of time here on A Game of Two Halves. Next time on A Game of Two Halves, we have a show on community sport. We look at a local club in Cardiff as well as their academy to see what they're doing to help the community. We will also be showing the benefit of employing students, journalists, and lastly, we'll be speaking to Oddball's ambassador. We're out of time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Game of Two Halves. I've been your host, Nathaniel Baker, and I want to give a special thank you to Lee for joining us in the studio. Also a thank you to Alex for being our studio guest as the third year representative. And join us next time for some more sports content where we'll be bringing you a lot more VTs and a lot more of the news headlines. Thank you and goodbye.